welcome to the 2018 Cryptonomics shareholder meeting. My name is Stan Larimer, CEO of Cryptonomics, and we have a number of people here. We have Michael Taggart, president of the company, and also Pam Larimer, secretary treasurer. And also with us here is Connie Willis, who is in charge of communications and getting our message out, and she's also online recording what we're talking about here today. And then we also have having joined us is Ben Johnson, and we expect probably a few more people to trickle in as we go along. Those who couldn't, we're going to make this recording available on a private basis to those people who are shareholders. As a little bit of background, Cryptonomics started out, as all of us know, with the goal of developing a new improved version of BitShares. It did that. Then as it went looking for sources of income, it turned out that we were not able to get income from the BitShares community as we had expected and designed the system. That's the results of free voting and people deciding what they wanted to spend the reserve fund on. But it had natural consequences and resulted in us looking for other ways to fund the company. One of the ways we found that was most successful or most acceptable was working a deal with outsiders to do joint ventures, because it turned out people were a lot more interested in coming along where they could get a big stake of something new rather than a smaller stake of an existing company. So we went with the flow and started using a general policy of working with one or more business development type people who would go build a joint venture of some type. And the first one that happened was Ned Scott came along and teamed up with some of the other members of the team to create Steemit. And we spun Steemit off as a completely independent company and had Steemit issue its shares, or a Cryptonomics share of that, straight to the shareholders of Cryptonomics, keeping the two companies separate. At that time, I gave Dan my Steemit shares, Dan Larimer, and Dan gave me his shares in Cryptonomics, so that the two companies would be completely separated from that way forward, and that would allow each of them to pursue their own policies in terms of intellectual property and regulatory compliance and so on. So that is the first example of a spinoff, and that became our business model. I'm getting a lot of keyboard clickety-clacks in here, so I think whoever is typing, if you could mute, I would appreciate it. So,
hi, once upon a time, yeah.
Welcome there, once upon a time. And so we are about to, or we're in the process of running this meeting. I'm just giving a little bit of an overview of where Cryptonomics came from so people can understand what we've been doing in the past. So we decided that once Steemit was formed, the technical team, of course, all wanted to go work on that, and that's what they did. That left the people who were in charge of business development with the company, and so the question became, what do business developers do when the engineering team leaves for greener pastures? And so what we've done is, the general strategy is saying to our business development team that they are free to work with us to create new companies that they can have a part of. Can you turn that sound down, please? Just mute your speaker.
I'm not typing.
It's, well, is it coming out on our other, on the phone? Somebody is making a lot of racket. Okay.
Sorry, I dropped my phone.
Okay. Very good. So now we got a little bit of silence. So we have been doing that, working with several business developers. Of course, the two that are most visible are Michael and myself, who've been out going around trying to get as much of a brand recognition for Cryptonomics as possible to attract new business that we can bring in, so that with the hope of we can provide more value to the shareholders here. We have several very competent business development people who are working at no salary, totally on the speculation that if we create a company, then it'll be a joint venture in the same mold as Steemit. In other words, half of it will go to the new people and half of it will go to CRYPTONOMEX. Or whatever it makes sense. If there's other partners involved, then it could be other ratios. But that's the general thing that motivates our business development type people. And so we have Eddie Taylor, Victor Asai, and Bill Flurry, who have been doing a lot of that kind of work with us and bringing us lots of opportunities, which we then run through the evolutionary cycle, which weeds out things over time. A lot of times it's said that you got to drill, for every 10 wells you drill, only one of them will produce, the other will be dry wells. So a lot of times the opportunities that are brought in that we spend time on don't pan out, but sometimes they do. And so we're going to give you a little bit of an example of that today. You saw it covered in the annual report that I sent out earlier in the year for 2017, and we continue in that mode. There's been a few changes in terms of names of one of the companies and so on, but and new opportunities that come along and some that fall by the wayside. We continue that process, but one very exciting thing that we'll cover today is that one made it through the gauntlet of all the things that can go wrong with starting a new company and popped out today as QUINTRIC.com, and today is its launch day. And so that is a real company that will produce real value. The piece of that will flow to CRYPTONOMEX shareholders as the company gets fully up and to the point where it can start paying dividends. But it is a successful operating company, and CRYPTONOMEX owns a piece of it. So that is we'll come back to and spend a lot more time on it. But in the meantime, I'll just run down a few others that have been successful in one way or another. Another company that we created in the same kind of mold is called HeroNomics, and that was created last and best known for the creation of the concept of the Hero coin, which is a market-pegged asset that is defined by a formula that gains 5% annually. We were successful at getting it prototype tested and actually incorporated into the base code of BitShares. So now it's a bit asset, bit hero, just like everything else. And so that was part of an overall strategy to increase the interest of people in market-pegged assets, because now they do something a little special. Of course, when we do that, it's not always the best timing because the industry is going up and down. We've had surges and collapses a couple times in the industry, and so when collapses happen, market-pegged assets can sometimes get to be rather dangerous. And so right now, I'd say the Hero is sitting there as a proven concept, but on hold, waiting for us to get a growth spurt and some business applications for using it. But the other thing that HeroNomics produced was the Billion Hero campaign. Now, that particular campaign was developed by CRYPTONOMEX with the aid of other people in the same way we developed Steemit. But it's also, I contributed the $1 billion Hero prize, which is $1 billion worth of BitShares. At the time, I contributed to that to be awarded when BitShares grows by a factor of 1,000, like Bitcoin and Ethereum have done, and I think even EOS pretty soon. So we're looking at that as a great way to promote everything that we do. People can go in there, learn, take courses, score points, vote for how that $1 billion will be given away one day, hopefully not in the too distant future. So that is something that we've even got other opportunities to layer partnerships on. And so we will do that. We do have a deal with Evander Holyfield that he signed with CRYPTONOMEX with the idea of raising $1 million and growing it to $1 billion in parallel with that and cross-promoting it. We got the rights to use his image on the HeroNomics website. And so that was going great. Of course, with the regulatory uncertainty that's coming along, a lot of that particular thing with celebrities has gone on hold. So we have that deal there, but haven't ramped it up yet, waiting for certain other regulatory uncertainties to come clear. And that's sort of been the story of the past year. I'd say we probably have had at least 6 different opportunities killed off by people getting cold feet due to reactions or uncertainties introduced by regulators in the industry. So, every time that happens, we adapt and find other better solutions. And so we proceed from there. So we have those companies going. We have another one that was just started that CRYPTONOMEX owns a piece of called Silk Skyway. That is a partnership with the Silk Route museums that are in China and interested in creating a coin that would promote those museums. And what we're doing there is essentially a white labeled version of one of the QUINTRIC products. And that shows how our different products play together in ways that are interesting. So that website is being developed in parallel with the launch of QUINTRIC. I think it's pretty much ready for prime time, but that's a separate company that will go out and promote that coin for its own purposes. And then we have a number of other projects that are too early to announce, but I'd say at any given time, we're probably pursuing at least a dozen different opportunities. Some of those opportunities, goes forward for just a few meetings and then nothing comes of it. Some lead to an MOU to build a company together, and then it comes down to all of the processes of making a new company, and that can go on for many months. Sometimes partners pull out of it or get cold feet or can't raise the funding they wanted, but we keep pursuing, and when one dies off, we put another one into the pile, and then we usually talk about it on Connie Willis's Blue Rock Talk Show. And she's there and been an enormous asset for us in terms of providing coverage of everything we do. So we want to thank her for what she's done. And she is also a shareholder of CRYPTONOMEX as well. So as we go along, we have been very fortunate to attract a lot of people who believe in what we're doing and are happy to chip in and help us build up the business. So that is a little bit of a summary of where we're at. CRYPTONOMEX had left just a small amount of funding left when the team went off to go build Steemit, and that's measured in a few million bit shares, which for much of that time was down below a penny in value. CRYPTONOMEX, or of course, when bit shares climbed up into the 10-cent arena or higher, that gave us the ability to fund a lot of these things that I've been talking about. So that money that grew out of the capital gains, as you can read in the annual report, produced about $400K worth of capital gains that funded much of our activities during that period of time and led to the creation of these companies. At this point, the amount of that is left is very small, and we're going to have to wait until those companies mature and start putting in income into CRYPTONOMEX before we can do much more in the terms of funded business development. But there are still our savvy group of business developers who are highly incentivized by our strategy of allowing them to create joint ventures that they can own half of, and therefore I expect to see us to continue doing some of that as we go forward in the coming year. And so we might see CRYPTONOMEX in the coming year get some small slices of companies in exchange for becoming a part of our family, having access to our intellectual property and brand name and promotional efforts. And so we'll continue doing that kind of work as long as we can until we start getting cash flow out of our subsidiaries that we own. So you can view CRYPTONOMEX at this point as pretty much a holding company and a home base for business developers who are going out looking for new business opportunities of different types. So those are my opening remarks for this thing. Did we have anybody else, any other shareholders that have joined while I was talking? Okay, I guess not. So at this point, we're going to go into this particular day being launch day for QUINTRIC. It's very appropriate. Of course, 5 years ago, the whole BitShares movement was started on the 4th of July. And so we found it very appropriate to have both the launch of QUINTRIC and this particular shareholders meeting to take place also on July 4th. So that's what we're doing here. But we're going to ask President Michael Taggart to make a few remarks about what's QUINTRIC all about and why does it matter to CRYPTONOMEX shareholders. Michael, are you there?
I'm here. Thanks, Stan. And hello, everybody. On the call, or anybody that's me after the call. My name is Michael Taggart. I am the acting president for CRYPTONOMEX. Also, one of the co-founders of QUINTRIC, along with Stan. We're also on the board of directors for the QUINTRIC Corporation. And as Stan stated, we are launching QUINTRIC to the public today, coming out of beta. We've been in beta for about 4 months now, and just kind of knocking out some additional features, adding some more robust features to the wallet, producing a wallet which we should be unveiling today. So it's a BitShares-based wallet that is branded for QUINTRIC, as well as with a QUINTRIC gateway into BitShares. So some of you may have been privy to QUINTRIC or understand what it is. I'll just give you a quick rundown on it. QUINTRIC monetary system is a monetary system based on gold and silver legal tender. It has a system for U.S.-based customers. It has an international-based system as well. Plain and simple, it is not a commodity. It is not a security. It is legal tender digital currency. That's what it is. The way that it is stored with transfer done through escrow, it is a special status type of currency. I don't know that I need to explain the reasons why a gold or silver-backed digital currency that is seen as a legal tender would be desirable for a lot of people. I think that's kind of self-explanatory. But I will say that the system in and of itself has not been attempted prior to this in the fashion that we are doing it. QUINTRIC is based as a QUINTRIC Corporation is a Arizona trust company. The QUINTRIC Corporation is based in right outside of Salt Lake City, Utah, in a little town called Alpine. Alpine has probably got the most, what do I want to say? It has the highest average money. I guess just how much money people make within Utah is probably one of the highest zip codes where there are a lot of people who live out in that area. They've got a lot of money. A lot of investors, a lot of the state legislators, a lot of people to church, stuff like that. Alpine in and of itself has the vault located there. I think last time I asked, they said that we could hold about $2 billion worth of gold in that vault. It is a highly secure facility. When we created QUINTRIC, we partnered with NAMEX, North American Monetary Exchange, as well as UCMA, United Precious Metals Association, in order to create QUINTRIC. CRYPTONOMEX is a shareholder in the company in and of itself through the ownership of Hypernomics. So CRYPTONOMEX owns a piece of Hypernomics. Hypernomics owns half of the QUINTRIC Corporation. Stan and I can give you guys actual ownership numbers, but as we were just stating before the call, somewhere between a fourth and an eighth ownership. So I'll just say, for all intents and purposes, around a sixth or so. But we can give you guys some solid numbers upon request or otherwise in terms of ownership there. Basically, QUINTRIC is launching today, coming out of beta. We've been very quiet. We haven't really beat drums or done too much public discussion about this other than the articles that I've been publishing on Medium. If you guys want to go check that out, go to medium.com, type in Michael X 777, that's my ID. And I've got a ton of material. I'd say half of it's about QUINTRIC in and of itself. Discussing the monetary system, why it's important, what it is, common questions, things like that. Other board members on the team consist of Larry Hilton. He is a lawyer and also responsible for a lot of legislation being passed in multiple states in the United States for legal tender and basically specie tender. So gold and silver being used within states as legal tender. He's definitely been assisting state legislators in strengthening legal tender laws, as well as because in the U.S., especially federal government, gold and silver is legal tender, but going to these states and actually reaffirming the specie metals laws, as well as even adding additional protections such as no state sales tax when using gold and silver legal tender, things like that, make, again, gold and silver legal tender usage a lot more desirable. Now, it probably wasn't as easy to use previously, and that's why I believe a lot of people have not used that alternative more often. However, after us adding the blockchain layer of transportability and transparency to their system, it does enable gold and silver to now be used, spent, stored as a medium of exchange just as much as a store of assets. So that's pretty exciting. Today we are launching not just QUINTRIC, but as I said, we have a QUINTRIC wallet that will be a QUINTRIC gateway into BitShares, which means that people can go from a debit card, from a credit card, from a ACH, from a wire. They can even send a check by mail to the QUINTRIC Corporation and get their accounts credited. And they could also do wire transfers. All of that is not buying cryptocurrencies. So I want to be very, very clear about that. They are not purchasing cryptocurrencies, and QUINTRIC is not doing an ICO. QUINTRIC is selling gold and silver and basically vaulting it. Legal tender gold and silver, vaulting it in the name of the person who purchases it, and then the quint is created. Only vaulted gold and silver let me actually rephrase that. The only QUINTRIC in circulation will only be vaulted gold and silver that's sitting in there specified for QUINTRIC use only, owned by a person. That means that we do have 100% reserves on deposit. That means that every single quint in circulation is 100% backed by gold or silver tender that is sitting in that vault. Persons can't redeem gold and silver directly from us as long as they redeem at least 1,000 quints, essentially 1 ounce of gold or more. So they can't redeem for 1/20th of an ounce of gold. They can redeem at least 1 gold or 1 ounce of gold and up. Right now they can redeem it at the vault. They can also set up some courier service through, I believe, Brinks is who would be delivering the gold, silver, legal tender directly to a person should they go ahead and cash that out. We anticipate that we'll be adding more services there to assist in people if they want to cash out directly to metal, if necessary. We do have plans for a debit card. UPMA, one of the partners that has helped with this project and is one of the contractors for this project and servicing the vault insurance, things like that, which is insured by Lloyd's of London. So just to get that. UPMA does already have a card that allows its members to deposit fiat currency, say in exchange for gold and silver legal tender, and then they can actually swipe it at a registered Amex card. They can spend about half of their deposits at any given time, or up to $10,000 per either or. On those cards, I do anticipate that QUINTRIC will be releasing a similar version of this card for U.S. and then international clients later on this year. But right now, what I'm really focusing on is just allowing the quint to be deposited into a bank account or a debit account directly into fiat currency from gold. Very similar to what I had set up with Remedio.com, which was essentially a service that allowed people to take the cryptocurrency and load it directly in a bank account or directly onto a debit card through a reverse card load. So it would be a very similar structure, and this would be available within the QUINTRIC dashboard. So that's really, I think, a cool option as well. So it would enable people to then swipe, if they have a card issued to them through QUINTRIC, swipe it or register to them their gold, silver. They can send it person to person if they want to. They can transfer it to the DEX, the BitShares DEX, and they can trade it against different trading pairs if they want to. And you can, trade it for other cryptocurrencies and then transfer them into QUINTRIC and purchase more Quint if you want to. One of the, I think, benefits of QUINTRIC is that it is off-chain. It is private. There is some KYC when you do create your QUINTRIC account and when you do some redemption of gold, silver, things like that. You have to follow all laws and regulations for all jurisdictions that we operate in. But the operating jurisdiction always comes down to Utah escrow laws governing all transactions in there. If you were to take your quits and want to cash them out, you would have to transfer them into the QUINTRIC dashboard, which is off-chain. That transaction becomes much more private, not anonymous, but private. I think that anonymity is not a right, but privacy absolutely is a right. This will enable to also do some trades. Let's say they want to take their QUINTRIC and transfer it off-chain into the QUINTRIC dashboard and then transfer it to another QUINTRIC account from there and then transfer it back into the DEX. Well, all of that is done privately. When it pops back out onto the DEX, wherever it pops out at, there is no blockchain. There's no blockchain record of how the money got where it got. It just kind of stuff on there. So there are some privacy layers that QUINTRIC can provide for persons who are wanting to have a little additional privacy in their business on BitShares Network. And I think that's another one of the great benefits of it. We will have a booth at Freedom Fest next week. We're anticipating doing several more conferences the rest of the year, having a booth and or speaking at conferences. Dan and I are scheduled for a couple of speaking engagements later on this year for QUINTRIC, as well as for BitShares and CRYPTONOMEX and Graphene as a whole. We'll be representing QUINTRIC operating basically in Brazil. I don't know. I'm trying to remember some of the other places right now. But we'll be pushing pretty hard on the QUINTRIC front. So Larry Hilton is one of the board members. He's a lawyer. He's the in-house counsel. We've got Paul Savage. He's also a lawyer as well, contractual lawyer. Does a lot of work out in Utah for different things, and also is very, very versed in legal tender specie law. We have Jeremy Gordon, who is the president. No, actually, he's not the president of Amex. He is the president of QUINTRIC now. We did nominate him as president. UPMA was one of the, he's one of the main members of Amex and also UPMA. He's also there too. We do have a legal memorandum that was written for QUINTRIC, providing legal arguments and discussions about how we claim legal tender status with QUINTRIC. We haven't published that publicly to anybody just for obvious reasons. We don't, need everybody in the world to go try to pick that apart, but it is available upon request if SGC, or anybody else were to come up and ask you for more information or otherwise. So we do have all of our ducks in a row when it comes to the way that we're running QUINTRIC and the way that the tokens in and of itself are treated at all times. Trying to think if I have missed anything or if there's anything else you feel I need to go over on the QUINTRIC front there, Stan. But I just want to say that I believe QUINTRIC operating as legal tender, and I believe that the company in and of itself is a fantastic enhancement to CRYPTONOMEX and to BitShares in and of itself. What it can provide the community, what it can provide individual persons in there. The fact that it is another gateway that is a safer gateway in that seeing crypto directly with credit cards, checking accounts, you're purchasing legal tender fiat legal tender to a backed metals legal tender that helps out with cap gains, that helps out with a lot of other things. I think that that's going to be a fantastic addition to what BitShares and the DEX have obviously for a long time, as well as usability in the real world for cryptocurrencies and things that people are using over on the BitShares front. From a gateway perspective, from a use point perspective, from a storage perspective, and medium of exchange perspective. A lot of people are very excited about it. A lot of people are very interested in it. We have a couple of different companies that are developing businesses that will be using the Quint or one of the iterations of the Quint as its medium of exchange or as its center point or the main token of usage within its system. Well, we also have been working out contracts with various entities to white label the Quint so they could actually offer their own version of the Quint with their own branding on it. We do have a contractual agreement with the royal family of the Middle Kingdom of Ireland in a place called Brentford. That's going to be one of the international locations of our international vaults. We have approved a documentary film later on this year, around October, with the royal family in Ireland, talking about Brentford, the rule of law there, why we chose Brentford, there's a lot of reasons why. I won't get into them on this call. And also about Quint, about the monetary system in and of itself. The royal family of Brentford has also proclaimed the Quint to be legal tender and coin of the realm. That was actually on January 1st. We haven't published that anywhere. However, they did on January 1st make that proclamation, did sign it, and did make the Quint coin of the realm in that area in preparation for later on the year. We do the film and we do the documentary series, and we really discuss the usability of it. So there's a lot of exciting things going on around Quint. It's one of the projects that Stan and I have been working on quite a bit. I'd like to say that, we started working on that in December, and, 8 months later, from start to finish, we have this out, launched, several million dollars worth of Quints have been purchased during this phase, and we're anticipating this is going to get ratcheted up quite a bit. There is one other coin I do want to discuss real quick that is attached to the Quint. It's called the Quint X. And that is actually a security. It is not being offered by the QUINTRIC Corporation. It's actually being offered by the side corporation. So for that, we don't want to muddy the waters with the legal tender currencies. The Quint X, I believe, is selling right now for 10 cents per token. It started off at 5 cents per token for the first 50 million. Those sold already. So it's on tranche number 2. It went from 5 cents to 10 cents. I anticipate the next one will be up at 20 cents. And I'm not sure when this tranche will be finished, but what I've heard, it's been very successful as well. So chances are it's going to be sold fairly quickly. The Quint X represents essentially the same thing that the BitShares the BitShares, the slush fund. Essentially, all the market fees and everything are taken. And BitShares is all loaded into a fee pool that has been tapped into through work proposals and things like that. QUINTRIC uses something similar in that there is a market fee for transactions of 2% or up to 5%, whichever is the lowest. That is essentially the fee pool that everything gets put into. It's called a Quint Cash, C-A-C-H-E. All fees are dropped into the Quint Cash and then paid out to the Quint X holders as gross revenue. So Quint X holders are paid out of the gross revenue of the QUINTRIC monetary system, and gross meaning prior to any cost of operating QUINTRIC monetary system, employees, all that sort of stuff. The Quint X holders are paid out first before all of those are taken into account. So it truly does represent almost ownership in the monetary system rails, so to speak, for the holders. They can be transferred from a holder to a holder. It's a Regulation D offering as a security. It's only available to accredited investors in the U.S. and outside the U.S. Anybody who is legally able to invest in any sort of securities is more than welcome to do such. And, if anybody needs any information, go ahead and let me and Stan know. We've got everything there, including the securities agreements and things like that. So that's the QUINTRIC system in and of itself. Again, really excited about it. Pre-invest, I anticipate a lot of people are going to be very interested in it. And we will be ratcheting up the advertising, the marketing, and kind of pushing this a lot more in the next coming months. We really just wanted to get everything completed, done, wallets done, system done, ensure everything, triple check it with the lawyers and everybody else out there, and just get some proof of concept, get some funds in before we really wanted to unleash. And I feel like we'll be having a board meeting down there in a couple of days. I feel like we'll have a good plan for the next couple of quarters.
Very good. Thank you, Michael. Last night on Blue Rock Talk with Connie Willis, we did 2.5 hours of interview and discussion about this subject. You can find it on Steemit.com. I linked to it there at the /@Stan, but you can also find it directly at Blue Rock Talk. And so you can link in there and get more information on the subject you want. I can't emphasize how significant this is. Not just does Cryptonomics have an ownership slice in this particular project, but it becomes the basis of a lot of other things, as Michael indicated, that we'll be able to build on top of it. When you go around the world, you'll probably notice there's an awful lot of exchanges out there that people are introducing. Everybody and his brother wants their own exchange. So what is it that makes an exchange special? What gives it the competitive niche in which to grow? Well, certainly the things that we have at QUINTRIC in terms of the ability to on and offboard fiat and the ability to have a nice stable base coin to trade against are some of the things that we think we can build other applications on. And then a lot of our activities going from boardroom to boardroom as we go around to talk to people are focused at bringing new businesses into the BitShares ecosystem. And when we do that, I'm getting a lot of noise from somebody there, so if we could mute, I'd appreciate it. So when we do that, we talk about several competitive things. One is what I just described with QUINTRIC, but certainly the entire BitShares ecosystem. And if you haven't seen blocktivity.info, I'd be surprised if anybody in this group hasn't seen it yet. But it documents the fact that the graphene family, or I call it the BitShares dynasty, because the first company always gets to be the name of the dynasty. So the BitShares dynasty, including Steemit and EOS, currently occupies about 70% of all transactions done in the industry, all public ones anyway. So that is the kind of attention getter that we use when we go into different rooms and we say, what would you guys like to do with your company? We've got the ability to generate not only user-issued assets in the old style business of just create a coin that you can define any way you want, but now we've got the ability to white label something that's really backed by gold. And therefore you can have a token with your own brand on it that you can have that has a guaranteed minimum value, and you can start with a product like that. Those are the kind of things that generally get us invited back for more detailed discussions, and that's what we intend to do. We also have one more activity that we've hinted at, and yes, it's going strong. We are working on upgrades to the BitShares ecosystem to take advantage of what EOS has brought to the table. So those couple different efforts going on there, already launched, and we're not ready to talk about the details of them yet, but that's another activity that Cryptonomics is putting its brand behind. So that gives you a general idea of everything that we've been doing. I'd like to, at this time, throw the the floor open for questions that anyone may have about anything that we've been doing. While people are thinking up their questions, if anybody joined since I started talking that hasn't notified us that they've attended, this would be a good chance for you to tell us you're here and say hi to everybody. Okay. I'll go ahead and wait for 30 more seconds for someone to say, I have a question. If not, we're going to press on to the business part of the meeting. Okay, after a long pregnant pause, we'll go ahead and proceed. The main business activity is the election of board members in the for the coming year. We have 2 nominations so far for the board of directors, and that would be Stan Larimer and Michael Taggart. Are there any other nominations that people would like to submit at this time? Okay, the way we're going to do the voting is very simple. You simply, if you haven't already, send in your vote for who will be, who you would like to have serving on the board of directors. We only have 2 board members right now because we're operating at a very lean mode. And so we just have the 2 guys that have been doing that function, and opportunity for you to change that if you like. But if you do, all you do is email your preferences to stan@cryptonomics.com, and I'll get it to our election tally person who will sum up how many votes that we've got. And the people who get the most votes for this particular 2 positions will be our board members. Voting stops at Eastern Standard Time, midnight tonight. So if you've got till then and to get in your email, and at that point, we will announce the board for the coming year. And I intend to announce that on my Steemit /@Stan blog, which is where I put all the activity announcements and everything that's fit to print. And then undoubtedly, Connie will worm it out of me on the next episode of Crypto Connie on Tuesday nights as well. So those are the kind of things that we've got going. This concludes the business activity part of the meeting. And if there's anything else that anyone would like to say at this point, this is your last chance. We're about to adjourn.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Connie.
Hey, everybody. Good morning. I'm just hoping that you save that cabin on the cruise ship so when all these things come together, even more so, and we celebrate, that we can all celebrate on that cruise in that wonderful cabin, and we all cheer and celebrate each other's work with each other. It's been, I've just been here a short while, and it's been fantastic, and just want to say thanks and hello to everybody.
Thank you, Connie. And one thing I will say for this crew is they never give up. So we have been, like we say, drilling a lot of wells, but I think it's starting to pay off. We do get a nice warm welcome wherever we go. And our business development team has done a very good job of getting us opportunities to talk about what we're doing. So I think that while we've had a long, slow couple years while we've worked at it, you're starting to see the fruits of that determination. And so with that, I'd like to thank everybody for attending our 2018 shareholder meeting, and look forward to seeing you again next year.